Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining me. I think we'll wait a few more minutes for some more people to join. 6:30. So,
Rajeshwari, आइए.
hi all. I think we'll begin. Uh, I believe Toral and Miss Nisha are in. Hi. Uh, Good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening. Hi,
Good-
Riddhi.
Hi. So, thank you
Hi, everyone.
for inviting me here.
So, should we start?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay, so I'll just introduce. Hi, everyone. We are from Giants Trip of Chapati, and we're super excited to host this. And we are a 40-year-old NGO, and we do social service in various aspects like Save Girl Child and planting trees and lots of things. And this pandemic also, we've done various projects. And decluttering and being healthy is so important during the pandemic that when we decided to host our service week, which is 7 days of continuous project and working and serving towards mankind for 7 continuous days, all our groups unanimously across Mumbai decided that it has to be towards health and decluttering. So we decided that our webinar project has to be health, and no better than Riddhi to host something about healthy eating. And I'm going to put it on Nisha Mazmudar, who is the president of Giants Group of Chapati, to introduce Riddhi.
Hi, Riddhi. My name is Nisha Mazmudar. I'm the president of Giants Group of Chapati. Our NGO, like she said, it's 40 years old. And I'm very, very happy to introduce Riddhi Shah Parekh, a very upcoming dietitian and very great person and very, very simplistic, but very healthy. So Riddhi is a registered holistic nutritionist, and she's certified from the Canadian School of Natural Nutrition. she's been in the field of nutrition for over 10 years, but she doesn't look so old. She looks just passed out of college. So anyway, she's worked with prolific nutritionists, and now she's launching her own dream, the Nutri Project. So welcome, Riddhi. I'll pass it over to you. I hope we have an excellent time. Please listen to her. We'll have an excellent, healthy lifestyle. Thanks, Riddhi, for being here. Please take over.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much. It's just a sweet introduction. So I'm a holistic nutritionist. What that means is when I address your health, I will look beyond just your weight, beyond just a rigid diet, and look at your lifestyle overall and help you make it easy to live healthy, basically. So the topic for today is that we should stop dieting and start eating. Now, bizarre as that sounds, you will understand what I mean. Okay, so if anybody could just virtually raise their hands and tell me if any of you are or have been on a diet recently. Guys. Yes, I see a few people. Great. So I feel all of us have been on a diet, or at least claim to have been on a diet at least once in our lives. But that brings us to what exactly is a diet, right? A diet is essentially the kinds of food that a person, animal, or community habitually eats, which basically means that all of us and our pets are on a diet. But then we must wonder, what does that mean? You see this image of this man running. He is clearly fit, right? But who is he? His name is James Fix. He's the author of several books. He was the part of the Mensa community. He is a marathon runner, and he is actually the person who made marathon running popular. Till he did it, till he wrote books about it. Marathon running was just a sport, just for the elite sports persons. One would think that he has lived to a ripe old age, probably still running a marathon today. However, he died at the age of 52 while running. Okay, he was found on the side of the road, having died of a heart attack. So again, that brings us to the question is, what about eating healthy, right? If you are on a diet, are you on the right diet? James Fix clearly wasn't. He was very infamously announcing that I can eat what I want. I can eat any kind of food, high sugar, totally high sugar diet. As long as I'm not, I'll be healthy. Clearly, he was wrong. That brings us to how important is your weight in deciding your diet. I mean, he, as you can see, was quite thin. So how important is that in deciding how your diet should be? Let us take two examples. There is a female who is 24 years old. Her height is 5'2" and she is 80 kgs. There is another female who is 35 years old. Her height and weight is exactly the same. But woman A is living in a hostel. She has hypothyroid. She has a lot of lethargy and a bit of hair fall. Woman B, however, is a working professional. She has a 6-month-old baby, sweet cravings, and a lot of acidity. So, once again, I will ask you, how important do you think weight is in deciding your diet? Clearly, both these women won't be able to follow the same kind of diet because their lives are not the same. When you traditionally call up a dietitian and say, look, I want help, the first thing they will ask you is your age, height, and weight. That does give an idea about your health profile, but it doesn't even begin to scratch the surface. Again, as you can see, there are many kinds of bodies, many kinds of lives, many kinds of routines that one comes across, right? So what is the best diet? Is it keto? Is it high protein? Is it low carb? Or what is it, right? The answer is none. There is no best diet. The best diet for you is going to be decided by only one person. That is you, your body. Your body will tell you what you need. And how does that happen? With the concept of nutritional symptomatology. Now, this may seem to be a big technical word. It's very simple. Basically means the study of your symptoms. Now, what is a symptom? When your body is lacking something, something is wrong, something is not up to the mark, it will start knocking. you will feel a little bit here and there in your body. You may feel a bit of a joint pain, your back starts to hurt, you're not sleeping well enough. One or two of these things may come up. You may have allergies, you may begin to have, backache, as I said, cravings even. So these are different signs that your body is not up to the mark, something is not completely fine, right? So based on these, your body decides your requirements. Your body decides what it is that you need. But how do you determine that? We'll come to that soon. So you feel that you're not okay, you feel something is amiss, you want to go on a diet, but what do? You check Pinterest, you check Google, you see a famous, any famous influencer online, you see, hey, look, she got thin, I wonder what she did. And then you have a whole host of videos of what do I eat in a day on YouTube. You may want to try to follow that, but how long will that even last, right? Why do diets fail again? Because we follow, or we tend to follow, something that has worked, something that has worked for someone. But is that even working for you? How do you know that? What we try to do is we take a diet we have, okay, and we want to integrate our lifestyle into that. We have a diet, you say, okay, you're supposed to wake up at 5 a.m. There's a 5 a.m. club. Some say that you're supposed to, sleep early, eat only at certain times of the day. You want to change your entire lifestyle and fit it into your diet. But that won't work because there's something that you have evolved into over the years. There's something that you have been doing over the years, something where you've grown over the years. You cannot ignore that and work only according to one diet that may or may not have worked for someone else. So the first thing you should do is integrate your diet into your lifestyle. Make sure your diet is working for your lifestyle and not the other way around. You're not changing your entire routine because that won't last long. And how do you do that? You do that by addressing your symptoms. Right. I'll give you a few examples. So if you feel you have allergies, you may be any weight. If you have an allergy, something is wrong with your immunity. How do you know? An allergy could be anything. It could be sneezing, it could be rashes, or literally anything. So how do you work on that? Firstly, you could support your immunity. Secondly, improve your digestion because that improves your immunity. And thirdly, you could also work on your gut health. Now, the answer to that, how do I work on my gut health? What is good for my digestion? That every one of you will have a different answer for that. So you see, if you say that I have the symptom of an allergy, you need to work on these different things rather than just popping an antihistamine every time. Again, don't get me wrong, you need it at the time, but in the long run, that can't be your only solution. Another example is cravings. If you feel you have a lot of cravings, don't not eat what you want to eat. If you feel that I need to have sugar, at the time, yes, you might need something sugary. You need to first understand what these cravings are. You need to know, am I wanting something sweet because I'm upset? Is it because I haven't slept well and I'm feeling a little irritable today and so I want to just eat something for energy? Are your sugar levels going up and down? You may not be diabetic, but you may have another hormonal imbalance. So you could be pre-diabetic and your sugar levels are going up and down, and obviously then you may need to eat sugar. So how do you work on that? As I said, firstly, you understand your cravings. Secondly, you track your cravings. And for that, when you track your cravings, you need to track three things: what you eat, what you do, and how you feel. In fact, that's actually a formula that I use for all my clients. Is basically we track these three parameters, and based on that, I will understand what has and what hasn't worked in terms of your health. And of course, you find out the root cause and work on the cause. Don't just deprive yourself. So if you feel like having a chocolate cake right now, you will say, I won't have a chocolate cake. I'll just eat an apple instead. Does an apple really replace a chocolate cake for any of us ever? No, right? Not even for me. So what you do is you may have a bite now of chocolate cake and get over it. What most of us do is, I'll just have an apple now. Then later you feel like, oh, I still want it. Let me just have, just one biscuit or something. That still won't be fulfilled. And later you'll just be like, forget it. I'm just going to eat what I want at this point. Because you've deprived yourself so long, you are going to binge afterwards. So don't deny yourself. Please understand your cravings and understand where they're coming from. Here's another major example that a lot of people at an increasingly, surprisingly younger age actually even begin feeling is joint pain. You have your back paining, your knees paining. One obvious cause that a lot of us know is uric acid, right? Again, that goes to where is the uric acid coming from? What has happened over the years that you have a uric acid problem. Secondly, this is again obvious. A lot of people check their D3, but do not forget to check your calcium as well. Water exercises is something that really helps in terms of joint pain. Reason being that you get the pressure off your knees and off your back, and you get to exercise. You're moving your body, you're strengthening your muscles. Of course, in today's day and age, a lot of us can't go to a pool or something. So at that point, even physiotherapy really helps. Once again, you must understand the cause of your joint pain. You must understand where this is coming from. Is it a uric acid problem, or is it just a deficiency, or is it just a bit of extra weight that I have? Okay, so what is the solution to all this? Don't stop what you're doing. You eat. You must eat. Don't be hungry. Do not deprive yourself. Eat, but again, eat right. That is the key. What does that mean? I mean that you must enrich your food. Okay, an example, something packaged like mayonnaise. A lot of us who are vegetarian may get mayonnaise that is not made of eggs. Now, one may say mayonnaise, yes, it's made of eggs, it's high protein, but the packaged mayo you get is full of very unhealthy oil, maybe enhanced with sugars and flavors, right? And for vegetarians, the mayonnaise is mostly chemical, so best avoid it. You can replace that with a Greek yogurt, for example, which is as creamy, as delicious, and it's got a bit of protein as well. Another example is, cornflakes. You think, oh, it's healthy because it's advertised as healthy, but here's a trick. Never go by what the front of the packaging says. Always turn any package you buy, read what's written behind, and that's where you find the real truth about your food. So another great example is make it yourself at home. Make yourself a poha, add a bit of tofu or paneer in it, and you have a nice, healthy and wholesome breakfast. And hey, guess what? It's even homemade, right? Of course, something such as a fruit and a nut is extremely healthy, and this is obvious. But a lot of us feel, oh God, bananas have sugar, mangoes have sugar, I can't have this. Yes, they do have sugar, but instead, a lot of diets I see have included something such as 2 Marie biscuits in the evening. Don't have mango, don't have banana, but have 2 Marie biscuits. Let me explain that a Marie biscuit's 3 main ingredients are 1, maida, 2, sugar, 3, trans fatty oil, which basically increases your triglycerides. Now, instead, if you do have a banana and maybe an almond or 2 with it, you will be much happier. Your pressure will be a bit lower because it does have properties to lower your blood pressure, for instance. So yes, let us not skip what we are eating. Eat that coleslaw sandwich, but don't make it with mayo. Make it with a hunkered. Eat a hot breakfast, eat a heavy breakfast. Don't skip breakfast, but eat it correctly is what I'm trying to say. Enrich your food, and you can also enrich your life, because of course your diet is not solely about eating. It's, as I mentioned, it's about your entire life. Now, strength training, for example, is something that a lot of us are scared about. We're scared about going to the gym, lifting those weights, but guess what? Strength training, working on your muscles, works for everyone at all ages. It's never too late to start. Of course, if you do have another situation, as I said, with joint pain and everything, it must be combined with under the supervision of a professional. Yoga is something that works for everybody. A bit of weightlifting at whatever level works for everybody. And it's not just about physical health, right? As I mentioned earlier, you eat, and what you do and how you felt, all 3 of them affect your health. Take time out, spend time with your family, spend time with your friends, spend time doing things that you like to do, right? Because this may, again, although it's a cliche, it is scientifically proven that your physical and mental health are connected, right? So you must enrich your life. Take time out to improve not just what you eat, but how you feel and what you do during the day. Okay, and of course this is different for everybody. So I feel, since a lot of us are at home at this point, there's not much we can do in terms of food availability. What we can do is work with ingredients that are available. At this season, if someone tells me that, I read that avocados are super healthy, and I will say that you cannot possibly eat an avocado every day. It costs 800 rupees to buy one. today, right? So not a lot of us want to do that. But then again, you have a lot of other sources where you can get where you can get similar nutrients as healthy fats, such as cashew nuts, which by the way don't have cholesterol. You can have almonds, you can have coconut, which is one of the healthiest fats available today. We don't need to wait for the Western cultures to find healthy things in our diet and come and resell it to us, right? What you find locally is literally the best food available. Um, Here are a few examples of people who have improved their health beyond just weight. As you can see, one of my clients is the first thing written here is that they're trying to accept their weight and not stress. So the first client I'm referring to, my two biggest successes with her were, firstly is I asked her to stop checking her weight. I asked her to ask someone in her family just to lock away her weighing scale and not check it, which made her feel so much better. It made her feel fitter. She was not depriving herself. And the second victory with the same client was a week ago, she had a pizza. And when she had the pizza, I said, congratulations. You know why? Because she was finally eating cheese and bread. This individual would refuse to eat anything with gluten, anything with dairy, simply because her body could not digest it. She was getting extremely sick and extremely uncomfortable for days after. Given that, the fact that she could eat a pizza and enjoy it without being scared, without having any physical effects, was a great, great, great stepping stone for us. Here's another client who is an example of how this works, is somebody who did not lose much on the scale, but she had dropped a few sizes, and that also wasn't my concern because I thought she looked beautiful either way. She did manage to begin cooking for herself. She did manage to help, deal with her cravings, which were honestly very uncontrolled at the time, right? Which was, in her case, related to a lot of hormonal and emotional health as well. So essentially, when you work on your entire health together, you won't be too worried about just your weight, because you will gain a lot more, right? So the moment you address what your body really needs, it may be a bit of extra cheese, it may be a little less of dairy. If you realize that, oh, it's absolutely intolerable for me, then yes, it is something worth avoiding. But how do you know unless you really check what your lifestyle is, what your diet is, and what your requirements are, right? So remember, let us have our diets work for us and not the other way around. Let us not stress ourselves. Let us not worry ourselves or beat ourselves up over eating or not eating or following or not following. None of that. Let our diets work for us and let our life work for us, which is how it should be. I'd like to open it up to any questions or anything anyone feels they would like to share or ask.
Hi, Riddhi, that was really excellent. But the basic thing, yeah, we say we stop eating, we don't eat this, we don't eat that, or we should eat this. But how to go about it? It's very difficult for people, especially as senior citizens and all, or maybe teenagers. Right now with the pandemic going on, half of us have put on quite a bit of weight because of staying home, eating, not exercising enough, doing all the housework. But then so could you give us a little information like how to manage this, balance out the thing?
Yes, it's very easy. Firstly, in this pandemic, if you have survived it without falling ill, it is a great victory. Okay, you have done exactly what you needed to do. So, but in terms of the weight and the health, yes, a lot of us are indoors. A lot of us have many commitments apart from just work and health. So it's very simple. So one, don't cut down on physical activity. If you're tired with just being indoors and doing activities indoors, understand that an activity is not a workout. Take time out to exercise. Okay, sweeping the floor, for example, a lot of us had to do it before a lot of us got the domestics. Sweeping the floor, one may think, oh, it's a great workout. It is not an exercise, it is an activity. So let's understand the difference between an exercise and an activity. Walking, again, is not an exercise, it is an activity. Yes, these will help you stay fit. It'll help your joints to stay flexible. But for your weight, as I mentioned earlier, there are a lot of people who do online strength training, gyms at home, basically. I think they are a must for everyone. And again, in terms of food, track your food, note what you have eaten, what you have done, and what you have felt. Reason being is that a lot of us eat out of boredom, a lot of us eat out of just I got quarantine snacks and now I just want to eat them. So make note of what you're eating, make note of how you're feeling, and it makes a big difference. But of course, the most important part is to have it checked by someone. Make sure that someone is watching what you're doing, in the sense that you feel that, oh, I didn't eat today, I ate too much lunch, so I didn't eat dinner. That may not be the right thing for you. So you do also need a professional to help you with that as well, not just to track it, but to make sure that what you're tracking is good for you. So that matters.
So that's where Riddhi comes in. So anyone interested I can vouch for her, like, because she's like another Toral for me. I have known her since birth, literally when she was 1 year old. And I can vouch that she has kept me also healthy and Toral also. And of course, her parents and her sister. Her sister lost, I think, crashed during the wedding. So anyway, that was a very, very informative talk, Riddhi. I think I'll pass it on to others who want to ask anything. Anyone wants to ask, please feel free.
I got a question in my chat saying, what part does water play in diet? Water plays a huge part in diet. Firstly, a lot of times when we eat, just snack for no reason or even crave something sweet, we are just thirsty, right? So water plays a huge role. Water helps to improve your digestion as well. There's a whole debate about water and having water during your meals. So I'll give you one example of that. If you have a glass of cold water while you're eating, it does slow down digestion. But if you do have room temperature water throughout the day, hot water is not needed. It doesn't burn extra calories. More muscle does. But generally, yes, having plain water during the day, sipping, not just gulping a glass when you remember, does keep you hydrated, gives you more energy, and it does improve your skin and hair a lot. So yes, it plays a huge role. What if we are eating junk food? And there's a question about sweets. Okay, what if we're eating junk food? Again, what is junk food? Are you craving it, or are you just eating it because it's there? If you're craving it, you must, as I said, understand that where these cravings are coming from. Are your sugar levels going up and down? Do you think that your blood pressure is probably going up and down, which is why you're craving for something salty? You're craving for something crunchy. It could possibly mean that you're a little upset or you're feeling a little angry. So what is the junk food, and what makes you reach out for it is what you should understand. There is a strong craving for sweets post dinner. Why and how do you control it? Again, strong craving for sweet post dinner. Now, wanting to eat something after a meal means two things. One, you may not have eaten enough, and B, your meal may not have been balanced. So you do control generally, in a wholesome way, you do control sweet cravings by increasing your protein per meal. Understanding again where they're coming from. Is it because of sugar levels? Is it because you haven't eaten enough during the day? There's another main thing about eating sweets specifically post dinner is, are you eating your dinner too late? Because if you're eating your dinner late, your body is tired and it's now time to sleep and rest, right? So your body realizes that, oh God, I am still awake. I need the energy. So I need a quick fix right now. So you must manage your timings and understand that, if you're going to stay up really late, then you're going to need something to keep you up. Does intermittent fasting really help? 2 meals a day, better, or small portions few times? Okay, generally the short answer is small portion few times a day, because that keeps your sugar level steady. If you eat a large meal at a time, your body and your stomach can digest only a certain amount. Okay, when you do this with your hands, according to Ayurvedic science, when you do this, this is the size of your stomach. So your meals must be this size. Eating 2 large meals a day are only acceptable if you genuinely don't have time to sit and eat food, and you're just going to grab what you get. But of course, that's a whole different topic. So therefore, intermittent fasting doesn't always help. If you are Jain and you want to eat, don't sunset for religious reasons. That's different. If you're going to not eat for many hours, again, you must make sure that you're having something what we call as a low glycemic index foods that digest slowly over a period of time. So that must be also monitored very well. Elaborate a bit on gluten and dairy allergies as being vegan really has advantages as they say. Okay, that's 2 questions, one on gluten and one on dairy. Gluten basically is you are only harmed by gluten if you are allergic to it. If your body genuinely cannot digest it. How will you know? After eating wheat, are you feeling bloated and irritable? Now again, why is that happening? Is your digestion weak overall, or is that because it is you're just genuinely allergic to it? Similarly with dairy, vegan being as advantageous, I don't think so, because yes, for the environment, yes, but that's again a different topic altogether. For your health, no. Dairy, like cow's milk, has the highest concentration of nutrients compared to any other plant-based milk. So although it's a fad, and I'm not saying that soy milk or something is bad, you can have it occasionally, but do not cut out dairy just because you think it's good for you. Does having a craving means I had less protein and feel sleepy after food means I had more carbs? Again, not necessarily. You need to see what you did during the entire day. Feeling sleepy after food could also mean, one, your digestion is slow. You need to work on kicking up your digestion and your metabolism. You need to work on your digestive power. A big trick to that is stroll for 15 minutes after your meals. It helps to increase the secretion of the digestive juices and therefore digest your food better. So that makes a big difference if you're feeling sleepy after your meals. What are low glycemic foods for vegetarian suggestion? Okay, any food can be, any meal can overall be made low glycemic because simply by adding protein to it, adding a healthy fat to it, and adding fiber. These 3 are key to low glycemic. Now, for those who don't know, low glycemic food is food. The glycemic index of the food measures the mileage of the food, means how fast or how slowly the sugar will be released and how fast or slowly your food will be digested in your body. So the lower the better, because your food is digested slowly. So yes, you must add a protein at dinner. If you feel that you can't, before sleeping, a cup of milk really helps. Add paneer, add tofu, add whole vegetables to your dinner. It makes a big difference to lower the glycemic index. And of course, whole grains. Does eliminating wheat from your diet really help you to lose weight? Maybe replacing with jawar, bajri, and nachni. Now the thing with all these grains is if you're talking about purely weight loss, a lot of them are approximately the same number of calories. So no, it won't help you to lose weight specifically. But what happens is, again, coming back to the glycemic index, if you're going to have 3 fulkas with ghee on them and just roti dal or something, you're not having enough fiber. If you really want to lose weight, you need to add, again, a lot of more fiber to your meals. If you're going to have a nachni rotla, it'll be a little thicker. You're going to say, I just had one, but again, that's thicker. So that won't necessarily help you to lose weight, but yes, it is a good option to include different kinds of grains simply because they have different nutrient qualities.